Okay, I call the regular meeting of the Milliken Board of Trustees for January 26, 2022 to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Will Town Clerk please call roll?
Trustee Granquist.
Here.
Trustee Long. Here. Trustee Meisner.
Here.
Trustee Rodriguez.
Here.
Trustee Wakeman.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich.
Here.
Mayor Austin.
Here. Thank you. Does anyone have any additions or deletions to the agenda? Hearing none, I'll take a motion.
I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Town Clerk, please call for a vote.
Trustee Long.
Yes.
Trustee Meisner.
Yes.
Trustee Rodriguez.
Yes.
Trustee Wakeman.
Yes.
Trustee Granquist.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich.
Yes.
Mayor Austin.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Do we have any citizens' comments tonight? Anybody that wants to address the board? Talk? Guess we'll be skipping right over that part. No citizens' comments. Okay, is there any discussion or comments on the minutes of January 12th, 2022? Hearing none, I'll take a motion.
I move to approve January 12th, 2022 minutes.
Second.
Town Clerk, please call for a vote.
Trustee Meisner.
Yes.
Trustee Rodriguez.
Yes.
Trustee Wakeman.
Yes.
Trustee Granquist.
Yes.
Trustee Long.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich.
Yes.
Mayor Austin.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Next, we have our paid list of bills. I did have a question for Wade Nickerson, Finance Director, regarding the loan payments. Could you give us an update? We did pay $170,000.
Yes, that's not on this list of bills. That was just paid. That'll show up on next month, and I will report on that information for the board.
Okay.
But what I would like to speak to is I did receive a question this week from one of the board members regarding one of the expenses on here. AC/DC Electric, we paid 2 invoices. One of them was marked as cameras at Dog Park. We've talked a lot about the cameras at the dog park. Those are actually going to be installed by Greeley Lock and Key. So the question was brought up, why are we paying AC/DC? And I just wanted to clarify that that was to get the electric service to the pole in order to get those cameras installed. We out of that. The total that we paid AC/DC was $3,178.60, and of that, the dog park cameras were $2,162.27 for materials and labor. Anyway, I'll take other questions.
Any other questions on the list of bills? Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, now we're out to the Town Administrator's Report. Administrator Powell.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So we discussed the meeting that we had with the City of Evans at our work session. And as I said, we will follow up on that, and we'll keep you apprised of anything new that we learn. The other item I want to talk about is I handed out to all of you the warrant study that was conducted. And we also did, I think I don't know if it was attached here or not. Anyway, we also reached out to them after the accident that occurred, the fatality that occurred out at that intersection. We still do not meet the warrants on that. So the next step was I had John Rabus, our street director, reach out to CDOT to find out who our representative is there. And so he did so. We met with them yesterday. Chief Garcia, John, Sean Keller, who did the warrant study, Brian Campbell, who is our engineer, and myself. So anyway, CDOT has a copy of the warrant study. They reviewed it. No, you don't meet the warrants. You don't meet the warrants with the accident that occurred. A question came up, can we install a signal light anyway at the town's full expense? And the response was, no, we cannot do that. If it doesn't meet the warrants, a signal light cannot be installed. So as the conversation went on, I said, you understand our concerns, what's occurring out there. Next year at the charter school, that's high school, are going to have first-year drivers because they're adding a grade. So now you're going to have inexperienced drivers at that intersection. We also have that development, that Brookstone development that's going on out there. That was additional homes built. There's going to be additional people and vehicles. And he says, well, we can't look at the future and say, okay, yeah, it's going to meet the warrant. It has to meet the warrant. So the next question was, then let us know what we can do. What can we do? Our job is the safety of our residents and people passing through our town. And so what he suggested, which was the next thing, was to do a speed study. And CDOT does these. And they'll conduct a speed study on that stretch starting from Two Rivers and 60 to Alice Avenue. And he did say, he goes, well, just so you know, when we do a speed study, we could also increase the speed as well as decrease the speed. And I thought, well, there's no way in the world they could find to increase the speed there. I would be highly surprised. But I think they could find to decrease the speed in that area. So originally he said it'd probably be about a year before they could do this speed study due to COVID. He did email me back later yesterday afternoon and said that that they probably could do it sooner, a bit quicker than what was originally stated. So they'll let us know when they can do that. Anyway, I just wanted to keep you apprised. We're still striving ahead, trying to figure out the best solutions. We spoke about putting a speed trailer out there as well, helping to deter it. The chief has had patrol officers out in that area off of Highway 60, clocking people on their speeds, trying to get people to adhere to the speed limit as well as being safe. So a lot of people think, just like the chief said, the speed's posted at 55. Well, if I'm just going slightly under 10 miles over at 64, I'm not going to really get a ticket, or I'm not going to get a ticket. Well, that's not been the case. So we're issuing citations anyway. But that's what we have. I handed this out to you. If you'd like to look on page 18, I think I flagged them all, is the findings. There's a number of different warrants you have to meet. And warrant number 3, which is the peak hour, we're very close at meeting. How close, I'm not entirely sure. I did make a note. We're at 180, we need 190, so I don't know if that's per hour. So I'm going to gather more information on that. But we'll keep you apprised. It looks like, even the gentleman or the company that did our warrant study, he can't predict. When I said it would be a year, will it be 2 years? And, they don't want to, guess. So.
But the speed trailer does log how much traffic goes through at a certain period of time. So
But we were talking about this intersection.
Right.
So the turns is what counts as at that intersection, off of 60 onto Centennial, off of Centennial onto 60, not just people passing through.
Right. Could we use the speed trailer at all to estimate increases so we don't pay for another warrant study that doesn't produce what we need?
It would probably be just an update to the current warrant study if we do it sooner. Regardless, I think we're going to end up having to pay for another study in another year or two. Another suggestion that was brought up was doing the roundabouts, doing a roundabout there. If constructed correctly, it would be fine for the heavy truck traffic coming off of 23 3/4 to use. The cost for, and correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, the cost for putting in a roundabout was close to $2 million at least at that intersection. By the time you get done with engineering, that goes along with it. For the cost of a signal light, it's probably no more than $400,000.
But we don't have to have a warrant study to put in a roundabout?
We still have to have permission from CDOT and go through all their engineering processes. And as I said, it would probably take at least a couple of years in order to do that.
Yeah, I'm just worried. I'm worried someone else is going to lose their life before we get this
I am
lighted.
as well, and we're doing everything that we possibly can. Unfortunately, it's a state highway, and we have to adhere to their rules. We at least now have the bug in their ear, and we will be talking to other folks regarding the speed study and regarding the roundabout potential.
Good.
Oh, I was going to say a couple things. Number one, did we talk about maybe changing the timing on the light at Alice to break up that traffic a little bit with CDOT?
Changing the timing on it?
The timing on Alice so that there's bigger gaps in between the traffic, so we're stopping them at Alice a little bit longer to give people time to turn either way.
We could. The only problem, we have to make sure we're not backing them up too far.
Yeah.
And we can certainly do that. I don't know if you reached out to him, Chief, because I know we were talking about it at one time.
Well, I can reach out to you. Now we know our contact. So I think we can reach out to him. Ask him.
But we're also hoping that if we slow the speed down through there, it'll allow more time for people to get out, even if it's down to 45 versus 55.
Well, I'm wondering if that would be something that might be a shorter
Coincide.
term thing. Maybe that they would do that before they would change the speed.
We can certainly, we're looking at every suggestion we possibly could find.
Yeah.
So definitely could talk to them about that.
And then the other piece I was going to suggest, I don't know what all is involved in it, but since that is a state highway, is it possible for us to get state patrol to monitor that speeding? To relieve some of the pressure on town staff.
We can ask. State patrol.
I mean, they do it on 85 in Platteville.
I have seen them on Highway 60.
Yeah,
Well,
I have to.
But more frequent.
more frequently, yeah.
Yeah, but we can ask.
Sure.
I mean, any suggestion, anything that we can, we're trying to think of all the things that we know to do. So all these suggestions are worthy of asking them. So the time on the light on Alice and state patrol.
Yeah, I'd say the timing of the light from Alice and the one on 60.
The one on 60, that one is a quick light.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
It is a quick light. And I think that's why we've had more accidents happen there.
60
And Two Rivers. The yellow goes really fast.
That's one of the problems when you start messing with the timing of the lights, it can affect something else and be quick. Because that was like 4 seconds. Turns yellow to red in about 4 seconds. I counted 4 seconds.
Do
Other
the warrants
questions?
state how many people have to die before it's
There have
eligible
to
for-
be at least 5 major accidents, I believe, at the intersection. Has nothing to do with fatalities.
Just major accidents.
And we haven't had 5 there in a year.
Maybe we ought to arrange to have some.
Non-fatal,
Trustee Meisner.
the non-fatal kind.
No,
Yeah,
I mean,
non-fatal.
and
Yeah.
I understand. I mean, you know, one accident is one accident too many, in my opinion. But unfortunately, you know, we can't, you know, we're doing our best to be able to convince them otherwise. You know, as he said, what did he indicate? That they install one signal light every 2 years? And that doesn't seem right to me. Maybe at their full cost. I think if a municipality or another entity, county or whatever, would be willing to throw in some money, that they'll move up higher on the priority list. But,
That's
which
how
is
we
what
got
we did on
Alice.
Alice Avenue.
Yeah, we got Alice sooner,
Right,
so.
which is what
more than that.
we paid a good portion of that.
Okay.
Well, they're managing to put up several signal lights up there at 34 and 257.
They put 3 up there.
They're above,
That's more than 2 a year.
That's, yeah, 1 every 2 years.
Oh.
yeah.
All because people don't know how to yield. I have 2 questions. One is the study on page 20. It actually has the traffic counts and, you know, the turns and all that. It would seem to me that if, I don't know if you can check into this, it would seem to me that they could just put their monitoring devices back up, update those numbers, and then it would kind of ripple through the rest of the report. Can you ask them, like, or have you already asked them what it would cost to redo?
And that's what he would do, is put the new numbers in. I mean, he's already done the report.
Right.
And so that's what the update would be.
So, do you have any kind of a number or idea of what it would take to redo those counts on a
No.
given day? Okay.
No.
But that's the other thing too, is that this is August 31st. You know, I don't know if, you know, what if it was just a down day or something like that? I mean, just looking at some of these numbers, it showed in peak traffic, only 14 trucks went westbound. So
And that's a problem,
yeah.
because you don't know what
Right.
day of the week. The last Warren study that was done by a different company, they did it on a holiday weekend. And so I think, you know, this study was done after school began. So there's a lot of traffic there. And to be honest with you, Trustee Grandquist, I thought we would have met. I was out that way a couple
Right.
times that day, and I would have thought we would have met. So the numbers they're looking at are much higher than what we envision. There was a lot of traffic out there.
Yeah, but you said something like 180 instead of 190, like we were just
Right,
barely shy.
we were just shy. We're just shy.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's per hour, so that's what I have to clarify.
The other question I had was have we done a study on the any commonalities or the actual accident study of the various accidents that have happened over the last couple of years, and see, are they all, you know, left turn westbound, or, you know, is there any commonalities in that regard that we can
There
try to
was
alleviate
3 accidents in the last,
Yes, but it's-
yeah.
Were they all different, or were they? Is there a commonality of, you know, left-hand turn on the eastbound or westbound?
There were left-hand turns onto westbound from Traders to 60.
All 3 of them?
And one of the things I was telling the guy from CDOT is that if you're going at 55 miles per hour, somebody pulls out in front of you at 5 miles per hour, it's too fast.
It doesn't work.
So, yeah, so we can get them to at least look at the speed limit and slow that speed limit down to.
Until we meet those warrants.
To at least 45, that would be some.
The speed limit sign's a lot cheaper than a traffic light at this point.
Right, and that's who has to put it up, is them. But if we can do something other than nothing,
Yeah.
in order, you know, until we meet those warrants, if they find that they do deem it to be at 40 or 45 mile an hour area, that will give bigger breaks. People going at a lesser speed, we hope, following the rules. and until we can meet those warrants. And if, with the way the growth has happened out there, and with the oncoming of these new drivers for the charter school, you know, I'd like to say we'd meet it next year, but I thought we'd meet it this year.
Yeah.
So,
I think that there are a lot of tailgating, passing on the right side, just some really ridiculous things. And I don't know if it's because they're coming into town that they want to get ahead before they actually get into town out there. But I know several people that have decided to drive 45 rather than 55 to at least try to slow it down a little bit.
Okay, any other comments on the traffic study?
Thank you for all your work.
Disappointing?
oh, you're welcome. No, I'm not done yet. So, as far as being a thorn in CDOT's side, so it's okay.
Okay. Thank you.
And that's all I have.
Okay. All righty, next up is the consent agenda. We have 4 items: the support for the Teen Character Awards, appointment of election judges, purchase of the Ben-Track tractor, and the purchase of the senior cutaway bus. I'll take a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Town Clerk. Please call for a vote.
Trustee Rodriguez?
Yes.
Trustee Wakeman?
Yes.
Trustee Granquist?
Yes.
Trustee Long?
Yes.
Trustee Meisner?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mayor Austin?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. All right, for the next item on the action agenda, we're going to be convening as the Milliken Board of Adjustments. The time is 6:51, and we so convene. We are going to hear about a public variance temporary crossing over the Big Thompson River, presented by Pepper McClanahan, Community Development Director.
Good evening, Board of Adjustment members. Also joining us on the call is the town's certified floodplain manager, Troy Spraker, to address any technical questions you may have. And I believe in the audience, the applicants and property owner may also be present to address this. The agenda item is to consider approval of a variance in accordance with section 16485 floodplain variance procedures for a temporary crossing over the Big Thompson River. The applicants are Bernhardt Dairy Farm, LLC, Civil Resources representing Bern.
Uh-oh.
Wow, that was interesting.
There must have been a power surge. Yeah.
Well,
There they are.
oh, there we are.
Can you hear me okay?
We can
We
now.
can.
Now we
now.
can. You disappeared for a minute.
Okay, I heard the power surge. I said I'll try to keep them under control.
Okay.
So the purpose is to review and consider granting the variance in accordance with 16485 for, again, a temporary crossing over the Big Thompson River. Bernhardt Dairy Farm and Bernhardt Farms LLC are the property owners of several parcels located north of Ash Street in the town of Milliken. These are being currently mined. They're located behind the water treatment plant. The properties have been approved for several decades for aggregate mining and contain multiple mining locations. The property owner, in conjunction with the mine operator, are proposing to construct a temporary crossing over the Big Thompson River, consisting of an earthen crossing with 4 16-inch CPM or RCP culverts placed in the stream to convey river flows. The crossing is proposed to mine cell 5 which is north of the river and transports aggregate to the south side of the river where it can be brought to market. This is the last remaining cell located on the Bernhardt gravel mine property with substantial gravel deposits. The miner analyzed various options to deliver gravel from cell 5 across the Big Thompson, and the options included trucking on county roads and aerial conveyor with piers. The trucking on county roads is costly and impacts the roads, and aerial conveyor is cost prohibitive. Therefore, the miner completed an Army Corps of Engineers permit and applied for the town of Milliken flood development permit to allow for the temporary crossing within the river. Approval of the floodplain development permit requires the variance to a temporary rise in the floodplain elevation. The Division of Mine Safety, the Division of Reclamation, Mining and Safety, DRMS, has approved an amendment to the permit to expand for up to 5 years. The DRMS is pending the technical review as they are waiting for approval from the town for the floodplain development permit. The Army Corps of Engineers has provided a nationwide permit for disturbance in the Big Thompson. The disturbance to the river is provided for up to 2 years. It is expected the applicant shall apply for an additional 2-year extension to the Army Corps of Engineers. The Department of Natural Resources in Colorado floodplain mapping departments have been contacted and consulted in conjunction with the floodplain development permit and this variance request. And they indicated that they could support a longer encroachment duration, and that the letter of map revision or letter of map amendment process through FEMA would not be required as the crossing is temporary. There is some information on some river modeling that was completed and evaluated by it was completed by the applicant and evaluated by a certified floodplain manager. So for findings of fact, the applicant has supplied responses to the prerequisites for granting a variance, and those were attached to the staff report. Staff finds the following in accordance with 16485J. Variances shall only be issued upon a determination that the variance is a minimum necessary considering the flood hazard to afford relief. And we find that this has been met as it only is requesting a 1-foot rise, which the modeling supports. Condition of approval is provided to ensure compliance. The variance, number 2, the variance shall be issued upon a finding that all of the following factors showing of a good and successful cause, a determination that failure to grant the variance would result in exceptional hardship to the applicant, and a determination that the granting of a variance will not result in increased flood heights, additional threats to public safety, extraordinary public expense, creation of nuisances, cause fraud on or victimization of public, or conflict with local existing laws or ordinances. And the certified floodplain manager for Milliken finds that after conducting modeling exercises and consulting with the state of Colorado, that this requirement has been met. Number 3, any applicant to whom a variance is granted shall be given written notice that the structure will be permitted to be built with the lowest floor elevation below the base flood elevation, and that the cost of flood insurance will be commensurate with the increased risk resulting from the reduced lowest floor flood elevation. Staff will include this notification in the floodplain development permit when issued. Number 4, variances may be issued by the town for new construction and substantial improvements and for other development necessary for the conduct of a functionally dependent use, providing that A, all of the subsections A through J of 16485 above are met. And we found that all of those were met. And the findings of fact are listed in the staff report for all of those. Variances shall not be issued within any designated floodway if an increase in flood levels during the base flood discharge will result. After modeling was completed and in consultation with the state of Colorado, the Milliken Certified Floodplain Manager determined there is no impact from temporary or minimal rise in flood elevations. Properties impacted are owned by the applicant, and the applicant acknowledges that any impacts would be minimal and are acceptable. There are no budget implications with approving this variance, as the construction costs and all materials will be the responsibility of the mine operator and the property owner. And with that, staff recommends approval of this variance, subject to the following condition. Oh, there's a mislabeling. There's five conditions. Number one, upon approval of the variance, the town of Milliken will issue a qualified floodplain development permit for a 2-year duration. The reason for this over the 5-year is that the Army Corps of Engineers permit is only valid for 2 years. Number two, the floodplain development permit may be extended by the Milliken Board of Adjustments, and the applicant shall request the extension prior to the expiration date. Number three, prior to the town providing an extension, all other required permits from the state of Colorado, DMRS, or Army Corps must be extended to as needed, and all permits must be in good standing. Number four, if violation occurs to any permits allowing the crossing, the applicant shall immediately report said violation and provide corrective measures for approval or remove the temporary crossing. And lastly, number five, if mining activities cease for a duration of greater than 30 days, the temporary crossing shall be removed and the river restored. There is a revised suggested motion from our town attorney that is different than that is listed in the staff report. And give me a second, I'm locating that. So the suggested motion would be, I move to adopt staff's recommended findings of fact as set forth in the published agenda memo, and to approve a variance for a temporary crossing over the Big Thompson River to allow for a maximum 1 foot rise in the regulatory floodway for a period of 2 years with the conditions outlined by staff. And I will defer any questions on this to Troy Sprague, for our certified floodplain manager.
Okay, going to take questions from the board, starting with Trustee Mueller.
I have no questions.
Trustee Rodriguez.
I have no questions.
Trustee Wakeman.
Pepper, whoever, approximately where is this crossing going to be? Is it close to our sanitation?
No, it's way away. It's up here. It's way up there.
It is not close enough to impact the water treatment.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Correct, Troy?
Yes, that is correct. So it's north of the water treatment plant, and it will not have any impacts in the water service elevation to that improvement.
And what happens if we have a flood like we had in 2013? I don't know that a temporary crossing can survive that, but what happens if we have a flood?
So the applicant actually provided some hydraulic analysis for that. And what we found is under a completely clogged condition of all the coal works, the rise in the floodplain would be 0.07 inches per feet, which is right less than 1 inch. We are giving them a little bit more of a leeway, but under a completely clogged condition, it's less than 1 inch. And the width of the floodplain itself is a foot in width. So really the impacts are pretty minimal. The culverts will be there. The dirt over the culvert is going to be minimized. So really all the impacts are going to be pretty minimal.
That's all.
Okay. Trustee Long?
Thank you.
No questions for me.
Trustee Granquist?
I had one question on the PowerPoint and on the pipe crossing. It says on that cross section diagram, it says crossing by others. Do you know what that is referring to? Is this comparison? Go ahead.
I would direct that question to the applicant and the owner, who I think are in the audience with you. The PowerPoint slides were prepared by them.
Oh, okay.
If you could just state your name and address for the record, please.
Andy Rodriguez, 8308 Colorado Boulevard, Firestone, Colorado, 80504. I'm Civil Resources Consultant helping Burnco do the crossing. So to answer your question, Trustee, it's by others. So the project was kind of in conjunction with Central Colorado Water Conservancy because they are the final owner of the reclaimed pits. So that's just a note that's saying construction of that crossing by others because that came from that plan set.
Okay.
So in theory, Burnco would install the crossing. So it's just a typo really for this specific application.
Okay.
Any other questions?
None for me.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich, do you have any questions of the project?
No question.
Ms. McClanahan, the applicant has to come back in 2 years because we're only authorizing something for 2 years. Is there additional costs to them to come back in 2 years rather than issuing it for 5 years?
I don't believe there has to be. They wouldn't need to reapply for the permit. It would be more of an amendment that we would need to bring forward to the Board of Adjustments. It's a good question. It isn't specific, the answer isn't specifically addressed in the code, but it's a condition of an existing issued permit and an existing variance. So I don't know that we would have to go charge them application fees. We just need to put it on the Board of Adjustments agenda. That would be my take. I would defer to anybody else that would like to weigh in on that.
I would be opposed to charging fees for the second, if they have to come back a second time. How does the rest of the board feel about it?
Is there a way to, as long as the Army Corps of Engineers extends, because that's what I think the 2 year limiting factor was. So can we do it in such a way that if theirs extends, so does ours? Is there a way to say that, as long as their permit is extended by the Army Corps of Engineers, we as well?
Ms. McClanahan, can we just issue it for 5 years and then the Army Corps of Engineers has to deal with their process?
Our floodplain, and Troy can unmute on this, but our floodplain development permit requires current compliance with all state and federal permits. And so, so that's why we have this limited. The other reason is it provides, the tracking would be, up to the applicant to make sure that they're tracking their current permits and to approach the town for any renewals that are required. Staff doesn't really have a way to track that. That would be more on their mining permit.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Any questions or concerns from the applicant that you'd like to state? None? Okay. All right, at this point, we'll go ahead and take a motion on the matter, and we'll have the town attorney read the official motion.
Thank you, Mayor. The recommended motion is, I move to adopt staff's recommended findings of fact as set forth in the published agenda memo and to approve a variance for a temporary crossing over the Big Thompson River to allow for a maximum 1 foot rise in the regulatory floodway for a period of 2 years with the conditions outlined by staff. And you can say so moved.
So moved. Second.
Town clerk, please call for a vote.
Trustee Wakeman,
Yes.
Trustee Granquist,
Yes.
Trustee Long,
Yes.
Trustee Miesner,
Yes.
Trustee Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich,
Yes.
Mayor Austin.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We will now reconvene as the Milliken Board of Trustees. Is there any other business to come before our board? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're out. Thank you. Good night, everyone.